Good morning and welcome. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
Good. You are actually part of a very important case there in Michigan, in Antrim County. Can you briefly describe to our audience what that lawsuit is about and how important it is to our nation?
We filed a lawsuit in Antrim County, Michigan. You recall, Antrim County was the county where we first realized that votes were flipped from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. So we filed a lawsuit in that county challenging the election results, challenging down ballot election results, filed a constitutional challenge to the case, and asked the court to allow us to take forensic images of the Dominion software system. The court allowed that. We did that. On December 14th, we put out a report by the ASOG group that detailed that the Dominion voting system was designed intentionally and purposely to create election fraud. And since that time, we've been working on the case, still conducting discovery and getting discovery from the state of Michigan.
Evidence that you have gathered to this point, Matthew, does it prove what you just said about Dominion voting system, about what we've been hearing since November 3rd, that it is designed to be able to flip votes?
It does. That's the evidence that we have seen. That's evidence that our group analyzed when they put out the report. So I can speak to what the report says, and it is based on science. It's based on forensic evidence. This is not just something that people put together without any evidence at all. They actually looked at forensic images of the Dominion system that was sitting in Antrim County and put together a report, analyzed the data, and we can see exactly how the computer functions on election day. We know what it does and how it does it.
Tell us what the next steps are in the process. I know that there's a date coming up that's pretty important in that process. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, sure. Last Monday, we had a hearing in the court where we asked the court to compel the Secretary of State to produce discovery to us. Discovery, in layman's terms, is the other side, the Secretary of State in this case, turning over evidence to us. And we asked them to produce evidence regarding all their communications and documents with Dominion Systems, Election Source, and other companies like Amazon, Google, Apple, and Facebook also. And so we want to be able to see exactly what they were up to, what they were doing, and how they trained people in Antrim County or how they didn't train in Antrim County, because this will largely affect the entire state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. If we can prove what we've set out to prove and what the ASOG report says, then we should be able to hopefully decertify the state of Michigan.
If you're successful in this and decertification does happen, would that be, in your opinion, the possible first domino in other states being able to do the same thing? And if so, what would it mean in terms of the election? Because obviously tomorrow a new president is set to be sworn in. So how would that work?
Yeah, I can't speak, and I don't know what it would mean for the entire country, but what I can say is that our goal here in Michigan is to, number one, get Dominion system out of Antrim County. We can do that. We can get it out of the state of Michigan. We can do that. We can decertify the election in Michigan, and then it'll be up to other states as to how they react to that.
Yeah.
To the viewers that in Michigan, you have the potential, if you're able to prove what it appears the evidence is, you could decertify the state and then also get the elections out. But there's some of these counties you can't even audit, correct? Can you speak to those issues for our viewers, just because there's a lot of misinformation out there and you have an active case with Dominion and you're allowed finally to get some discovery? Can you speak to that for us?
This in mind, also, when I filed the lawsuit, I also filed a motion for a preliminary injunction. You know what that means as an attorney, but for the layman, we asked the court to, on a preliminary basis, give us an injunction and allow us to take the forensic images of the Dominion system. And in order to do that, we had to show the court that we would be likely to prevail on the merits. And the court in Antrim County agreed on a constitutional basis that my client, Bill Bailey, that his constitutional rights have been violated in this situation. Mm-hmm. So we've already reached that first hurdle and proved that first step. Yeah. The next step, when we get discovery, we're able to show and see how the system actually operated and how the Secretary of State handled the election throughout the entire state of Michigan. And in the state of Michigan, we know, and to get directly to answer your question, certain precincts and certain counties in Michigan are not auditable, meaning even if you wanted to go in and audit the county, the number of ballots that they have in their possession do not match up with the votes that were counted through the system.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding that at least 80% of the precincts in Wayne County, Detroit, Michigan, are not auditable. And this extends to other liberal counties in the state of Michigan too, including Muskegon, Flint. Those counties are not auditable either.
Bailey, whom you filed the suit on behalf of. If you would take a moment and share with our audience some of the intimidation that you and Mr. Bailey are being have come against you. I mean, people are coming against you. Things have been said about your family and things like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And that started on December 6th when we were in Antrim County collecting the forensic images. It was on a Sunday. And that day, while we were there in Antrim County, we were told by the sheriff that there had been credible threats that had come in once news broke that we were actually in Antrim County and people started to catch wind as to what we were doing. So it started that day, really, threats against Mr. Bailey, threats against me, threats against other people in my family. And these threats come from Michigan Democrat representatives. In particular, someone named Representative Johnson. If you recall, she's someone who put out a Facebook video.
Finally getting somebody who's going to get some evidence here. And so I just applaud courageous patriots who are doing the right thing in face of real threats, not imagine make-believe threats. I think what Rick probably would say is it is a constitutional crisis, and the problem and the likelihood, I don't want to speak for Rick, but I would assume he would probably say the Supreme Court is likely to punt on this issue and likely say, well, we're not going to go back and fix 2020, but going forward, we're going to fix Dominion because they can be fixed. There can be an algorithm. They can be hacked in by other people. And now that you get the actual metadata on the device and you can see at 4 a.m. when everything reversed, you're going to be able to know what happened if they allow the discovery to go. Now, just because they're starting the discovery doesn't mean the judge is going to give them everything that would allow them to prove the case. But even if they prove one of those three buckets, they're going to be able to do it.